Testing, testing. Audio's check. 1, 2, 3. Everybody doing all right? Everybody say something, and I'll check your voices.
Something.
Harangonzo, the
Yahtzee.
bellringer of Budapest.
Hi,
Testing.
I'm here. I have my D100 all ready to go. I'll be rolling it instead of the D20
Why did you get that?
because it's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, for awesomeness, obviously.
All right,
It's
we're
the
good.
unending roll.
Let's do it.
It's the way to filibuster it.
Like you.
All right, everybody ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you ever say that to make us think we weren't waiting for you?
I usually say it as an alternative to saying, please stop talking.
Oh, okay.
All right. This is The Dying of the Light, Season 3 of the Starfall Collective. The Starfall Collective is a collaborative storytelling group using the Dungeons & Dragons game system as a vehicle for creating rich and compelling stories, trust me on that, in a fictional world we've been developing together for a while. You can find out more about the collective, as well as the stories we're telling, at thestarfallcollective.com. We are back with another episode. Let's find out who's in this episode. I'm Sir Robert Burbridge, a father and entrepreneur, and I'm the host of this season's story, to the best of my knowledge. With me tonight are a few friends playing the characters in this drama. Please say your name, something about yourself if you'd like, and a brief description of the character you're playing. Why don't we start this time with Josh?
Hi, my name's Josh. I am a software engineer in Augusta, Georgia. And if you want to hear my interview about Bigfoot, you can go to the Bigfoot Society podcast and check out my interview. And tonight I'll be playing Inkatink, as Jared can attest. I am playing Inkatink, who is a Kinku, and he has many voices, but not one.
And the Kenku normally are flightless birds, although this particular one is not quite as flightless as others, to his delight. Matt.
He's enhanced.
Hi, my name is Matthew Talamini. I am a writer and web developer based in Providence, Rhode Island, and you can find my stuff at MatthewTalamini.com. That's Matthew TALAMINI.com. I play the shirtless necromancer Diamondback.
And Patrick?
Yeah, my name is Patrick. I will be playing the half-orc Toll, who is trying to start to speak up a little more, maybe come out of his shell a little bit, and be a little more vocal, if just as monotone.
Well, you get the spotlight tonight for a few minutes at least.
Oh, boy.
Everybody's allowed to stay inside their shell for the first 72 hours of a nightmarish hellscape that never stops and incessantly psychically bombards you and traumatizes you.
Josh, thank you.
You're an evil man.
And Jared?
I'm playing Yoshka, who during just a little glimpse into his past, during the recent long night, he was thinking back to how his gypsy caravan used to gather around their wagons, and they would sit around the campfire and sing songs and talk and make food together. And he remembers how his uncle would be the one who would count out the money.
That's great. And what do people know these your folk as? What kind of people would they say you are?
They're the Menowin Wayfarers.
Yeah, the Wayfarers. And why are they, do you want to remind the audience why they're called Wayfarers?
Well, they're one of the only in the jungle who aren't settled into a little village.
Yeah.
They're constantly
Freezing.
and
They're constantly performing
They're constantly
interpretive dance.
what, Jared? You froze up a little bit.
oh, they're the merchants.
Yeah. They travel between towns and
Mm.
spread joy if they're one kind of wayfaring troop, and perhaps terror if they're another. There's no telling what kind of wayfarers there are that are around.
And I
Aaron-
found it super duper fascinating, the barrels that they were carrying. I thought that was awesome.
and Aaron Joy.
All right. Hi. I'm Erin Joy, Durham, North Carolina, playing the forest gnome Nino, who is feeling too old for this kind of adventure, but also a little excited because she's never been away from home until she was forced out of her home merely a week ago. Maybe not even that. Who knows how long that night was. She would be feeling homesick for it, except for the forced out bit. She's still feeling bitter about that. She is currently feeling homesick for the Basket City, but she would be feeling more homesick for it if she hadn't, on the way out, pretty much tried to steal from it. So now her feelings are a little mixed.
All right. And for our
At
viewing
least your
audience,
home is still there.
what's that?
Diamondback interjected, "At least your home is still there."
There you go. And for the viewing audience, this is a cigar. For the listening audience, this is nothing at all. I'm a God-fearing, peace-loving man of the people. All right.
You're the Charles Spurgeon biopic that's cropped up to here, not the one that's out here where he's got a stein of beer and a stogie.
Sure. I'll take it.
Ladies and gentlemen, our host, Hunter S. Thompson.
Oh my goodness. I actually read one of his books and he's like,
Dumbfounding.
Well, then let's get started.
He's a thief of words. He steals your words and puts them in his book.
if you ever want to lose all respect for Hunter S. Thompson, go and read one of his books.
All right. Okay. So, speaking of losing respect for authors, let's get started. Previously, on the Dying of the Light, our party set out from Miradau. They have returned Orden, the lost young man, to his people. And making good on his promise, Garriott sent them off with supplies and what they needed, and most importantly, directions to get where they needed to go. He told them it was going to be some weeks travel, maybe 3-4 weeks travel to get where they're going, but he was able to accelerate their journey a bit by getting them what he claimed to be about maybe 10-ish days closer through the teleportation circle that they have outside their town. It is an old and arcane travel mechanism that there are some around. They're not common, but they're not quite rare. But they're generally, knowledge of how to use them is pretty rare. So it was a little bit of a surprise that Garriott knew. Maybe not, depending on how much you knew of Garriott. And as they go through, what happens is that teleportation circle, the black mist of the forest sort of wells up in it and makes this ball that's a good 15 feet, say, in diameter. And no matter which direction you look at it, from which direction you look at this ball of mist, it appears to have a tunnel that goes deep into it to wherever its destination. So the party stepped in and walked in the tunnel, and they had a pretty good feeling about things. There was no threat, no danger, but it was just...
Most of them had good feelings about it.
Most of them had good feelings. Others perhaps had misgivings of some kind or another. But they went through and seemed to have... There was no menacing environment. All that there seemed to be was some sort of hard ground under their feet that they couldn't see. It was covered and shrouded with mist, and this swirling kind of gray, dark slate sort of mist tunnel around them. Somehow they were illuminated by a dim light, enough that they could make out each other. Didn't feel threatening, and they emerged happily from the other side into daylight, into familiar daylight. They looked around, and it was, fairly early in the day. They were all feeling pretty good, and noticed to their surprise that Toll was not with them. Sometime from here to there, he seems to have gone away. Toll, will you please join me in the other room?
Sure.
All right. So, let's do a little story here for you. Sound good? So we're going to start at your experience of walking into this swirling mist. Can you tell, just tell the audience what's Toll feeling as he goes into this teleportation circle? This would be the first time that he's done this, and some of the people with him had misgivings. Diamondback seemed reluctant. The others, Yoshka, for example, seemed to have no problem with it. How was Toll feeling about it?
Yeah, Toll's experience with knowing magic is really limited to his time with this group. He hasn't seen anything like what Garriott was doing, although I guess none of them have. But he's a little floored by it all. I think he would be rather cautious to step into a gate to wherever Garriott felt like sending them, seeing as he also doesn't know Garriott terribly well, but the other members of the group trust him.
And that means Toll apparently generally trusts the other members of the group at this point.
Yes.
He's known them for a few days, but you've been through a few things.
Yes, I would say that there's been some camaraderie building given what's happened.
Okay. So you walk through with everyone, in the order that you went in, and you're walking for a while. You're not sure how long you've been walking, but it certainly didn't feel like 10 days. Apparently this is a way of getting somewhat from here to there quicker than other ways, more quickly. As you walk, you seem to be listening to these people who know each other better than you know them, apparently. And you're kind of getting your feel for this party, for this group, but you also keep feeling like you hear something. And y'all are walking, and you feel like it's maybe off to the right. You hear, you're not sure what. You can't quite make it out, but it sounds like it could be your name. Like this. Toll. Toll. Your newfound friends don't seem to notice, and you reach out a hand to see if the dark swirling mist is a solid barrier. You're just going to kind of drag a few fingers through. Your hand passes through the black swirling mist. It's a mist you've had your whole life in the forest. It's just in a different shape here. And your hand feels a little cool as it passes through, but there's no resistance. What do you do?
So is the sound coming from outside the vapor or the fog, I'm assuming?
That's what it seems like to you, if there even is an outside of this fog.
I think he'll maybe poke his head through, not put his whole body through, but see if he can see.
Yeah. So you decide to peek through, and you see, because you want to see what it looks like, what might be there. As I said, you didn't feel any resistance as you kind of dragged your fingers through and pushed them a little further. Your friends continue chatting, and you take just a step towards the side of the tunnel, and you kind of look into that fog, and for a moment you find yourself completely unexpectedly surrounded by the mist, and you're disoriented and dizzy. But it passes quickly. You seem to be floating almost in a formless void. You're surrounded by a swirling, glowing light with no apparent source that fades into the relative darkness all around you without any trace of edge or shadow. You realize after a moment, it's not that you're floating. You actually appear to be standing on something like an immense gray floor, maybe stone. You feel a kind of synesthesia invading your mind and reshuffling your senses. And above you, everything is the same obsidian gray color as the ground. You can't find a horizon anywhere. The faint taste of violent phosphor causes you to smack your tongue a few times. You hear the same voice again, slightly clearer. Toll. But you can't quite tell where it's coming from. Or actually, maybe you can, but you can't quite get a sense of direction. What do you do?
Well, I think Toll is quickly realizing that he should maybe not have poked his head through the fog. He's going to weigh his options, realize that the thing that knows his name, whether friendly or sinister, is the most familiar thing in this expanse. So he'll call out, hello, is there anybody here?
You hear nothing.
And you said it's not clear where it's coming from?
You may be able to tell a sense of direction relative to you, perhaps, but it's so hard to keep your orientation because each time you think you turn, there's such a featureless expanse that it's hard to know how much you've turned or in which direction even. Then you hear again, Toll. And it seems a little smokier this time, a little like smoked fish, the sound of it.
That's going to get his interest, and he's going to try to follow it.
You take some steps in a direction that you think might be where it's coming from, and you actually end up hearing, or sometimes you are not quite sure if you're seeing your name being called. Your senses are still sort of shuffling and having a strange synesthesia. Toll. And sometimes it's a little faint, and sometimes it's a little loud, and you use that to sort of adjust what you think your position is, and you take step after step slowly. You're not sprinting because you don't understand what's happening around you, and you take another step, and you're following a road at the top of the mountain ridge, and a thick gray mist is above you, distinctly unlike the dark mist that usually swirls around the floor of the forest. To your right and left, the faces of the ridge drop off quickly. About 100 feet below, you see the tops of trees. Is this above the canopy? Are you on some mountain ridge? Distant valleys spread out below you on both sides. Toll. You walk a few steps further, and for a moment you almost remember a tall ridge with valleys around you, but you let that idle imagination drift away as you continue to enjoy your pottery mug full of ale, sitting reclined against a familiar oak tree in the fertile town square. It's a cool day, and you can't quite see the tops of the trees through the mist overhead. There's music playing somewhere, and small groups of people are around you dancing in lines, having a good time. And you smile, it's relaxed, and you take an extra long time to drain the last of your mug. You close your eyes and savor that taste with your eyes closed. Toll. You open your eyes slowly and stretch. You're having some kind of dream about, dancing? It doesn't matter. The dream slips away from your mind as quickly as it came. You get up from the hewn wooden bench you're laying on and you look around the room you're in. Your feet touch down on a similarly hewn floor, and you stand up, and you're in a small hall containing maybe a dozen rows of the same kind of low-backed bench that you've been laying on. A broad aisle runs the center of the hall, and light of every color streams through the walls. The walls seem to be inset with some kind of, you're not sure, maybe gems or magic panels. It's strange. You know not what they are, but they are making ornate patterns and shapes on the walls, on the surface. And the hall is dappled with greens and blues and reds and oranges and every other color as the light spills through them into the room. On the far side of the room from you, an old man sits on a raised section of the floor and seems to be doing nothing in particular.
Do I recognize him?
You don't.
So have I sort of maintained a thread of consciousness through all this, or is it sort of like I'm forgetting what's happening as it's happening? I know you said the dancing in the village. I've sort of forgotten already, but
All of it, each phase of what you were experiencing kind of swims in your mind like a dream or like a memory. You can't quite tell, but this is real and this is present.
okay. I'll slowly get up and walk over to the old man and see if he's cognizant, if he's present.
As you approach him, he hears your footfalls on the wooden floor. It's a modest room except for the strange glowing, not glowing exactly, but illuminated walls with many different pieces of color. But it's a pleasant seeming environment, and the man looks up at you. He's very old. You are not sure how old, but certainly one of the oldest people you've seen, and says, "My father told me to call you here and to let you choose."
Choose.
He makes a motion with his hand, and on the floor near him, he's on a raised portion of the floor, almost a platform that goes back to the back wall of this hall. It's roughly circular, maybe 40 feet wide, but near him, 6 or 8 feet away from him, is a set of laid out items. There are 4 items seeming to be orderly, having been arrayed in clear order, ready for you to choose one.
You want me to pick one of these?
Well, it's not so much that I want. My father told me to call you here and let you choose.
Would I know your father?
Oh, I'm not sure that's a real question. I don't know how to answer that. You would.
That makes about as much sense as anything else here.
You would know him if you met him.
All right. I'll give him sort of a quizzical, somewhat kind of cranky look, like, geez, dude, this is weird enough without you like throwing riddles at me.
He laughs and says, "Oh, you young ones. Well, let me tell you. You're very well acquainted. You just don't quite know him."
Fair enough. I'll glance over at the items.
Here's what you see. They're a little bit strange. All of the items are unusual for your experience of the world so far. There are, in order, closest to you to furthest away from you. There is a pair of leather leggings. It's a set of sturdy leather leggings, almost not quite armor, but thick, like hardy leather, well polished, and they seem to have been, I wouldn't say well used, but something like very well made, such that they would feel immediately comfortable. The leggings have small brass bells sewn down the outer seam of each leg. The bells, as I said, are small, each about the size of a grape. The waist of the leather belt the waist of the leather leggings has a belt affixed to it. Next to it, there's a handkerchief. It's a bright white linen. It looks perfectly pristine and new. It has no crease or fold or smudge. You may not ever have seen anything this clean looking. Next to it, another foot past it, is laid out a fine linen sash. The sash is cream in color with intricate green embroidery along its entire length. You vaguely recall the dream you were having about people dancing, as though maybe some of them had one of these. It appears that something you could wear on your torso, maybe over or under your clothing. And then the final item, a little further away from you, is a staff. It's a highly polished staff made of beautiful cedar. There's a deep reddish grain that marbles the smoothness from top to bottom. The staff's about 3 feet long, so maybe a quarterstaff-ish. Probably half. And there are no apparent cuts or holes, though you think you can hear a faint tinkling sound from within it.
The staff is going to immediately catch Toll's eye, and he's going to have an inkling of a memory deep in his gut of fine pieces of woodworking from his home village. He's going to walk over to it and hesitate to pick it up. He'll look at the old man and say, "What happens when I grab this?"
Oh, well, young man, you must understand the importance of choosing. Choices are made, and choices make you. Whichever one you pick, you may have. You may take it with you. Nothing happens, per se, except that you'll be a different person, depending on which one you choose.
He will nod and give the staff one last final look, appreciating the wood grain. And even though it's not, you said it was just sort of a staff, right? Not ornately carved or anything.
It's just smooth and very polished.
Yeah. So yeah, he'll appreciate that. He'll appreciate the grain and the polish of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll pick it up.
And the very old man sort of slowly and creakily gets to his feet and says, "Oh, you've definitely chosen, young man. A good choice. Your father would approve. Let me tell you about this staff. Are you ready?"
How do you know my father?
Oh, I don't. But your father and my father are friends.
I don't suppose you're going to make it any more clear than that, are you?
That's as clear as I know.
Fair enough. Go on then. This is not just an ordinary staff, I'm assuming.
Oh, it's not. It is not. Let me tell you, this staff is for you. For you in particular. You are... I know about you You are a guardian of the lands. Isn't that true?
I care for them.
And Toll, and maybe for our listening audience, and Patrick, I believe you have selected the druid subspecialization of the Circle of the Land. Is that right?
That is correct.
And a characteristic of that is that these druids are especially regard themselves as protectors of nature and the land.
I don't know if Toll personally, like as you know, inside his head, sees himself as a warrior or a protector in that sense, but more as a caregiver.
Yeah, a guardian in this, at least in the sense of a almost groundskeeper.
Yeah.
Tender. Okay. So the man says, "This staff, each time you rest, the staff rests with you. Each time you walk about the lands, the staff walks about with you. And it connects you to the land. It connects you to the plants and the beasts. Let me explain. Between one long rest and another, and I'm using a mixture of in-character and out-of-character language here, you can use this staff to make friendly with an animal 2 times. You can cast Animal Friendship twice.
Gotcha.
Per long rest. And one of the stranger things about this staff, you may awaken a plant or animal or anything that lives 1 time per long rest. And when it's time to defend, you may give yourself the bark skin of a tree 1 time until you rest. This staff can enable you to locate animals or plants of your choosing 3 times a day. That is to say, 3 times per long rest. You may use it to speak with animals once, or with plants twice. And if there is some creature or some creatures to protect, you may surround yourself and it with a dome of thorns, impenetrable to most beasts. 1 time until you rest again. Finally, 1 time you may use this staff to pass through plants or animals without harm. This is like past door. You become almost ethereal and can just walk through a plant. So, for example, a wall of thorns.
Or a wall of wicker.
Or a wall of wicker. You would not, and just to let you know, you would not be able to walk through something that was not plant matter.
Sure.
And I shouldn't have said or animals. It's specifically plants. So, for example, if it was held together with nails, the nails, you would have to kind of wiggle around the nails.
Gotcha.
But it lets you some sort of like become one with plant matter. I'll give you this item in your inventory, not this time, but next time. It'll just take me, I have to write it up. And it'll have all of these instructions in it.
Okay, cool.
And then he says to you, well, it looks like it's time. You should go. Your friends are searching for you.
Toll at this point is done asking questions that he knows he's not going to get an answer to, so he will simply say, thank you for this gift, and goodbye.
Goodbye. And he indicates to you a small, modest, nothing in particular door that you may or may not have noticed on one wall. It seems to be the only egress from this place. But it's a little door there, and as you walk towards the door, you put your hand on it to open it, And he says to you, Toll, my father says to tell you, do not be afraid of the death ahead. There is life in the death if you can bring yourself to make the harder choice. Go now. And you put your hand on the doorknob to open it outward. And we'll stop there. Why don't we go back into the other room? Both of us can.
Okay.
Elevator.
Hey, we're back.
Well, good. We found Toll. Every problem solved.
Hey.
See, guys, I told you. If you just patient and believe, D&D usually works out.
So, Toll, Patrick, in order to avoid you just having to sit alone in the other room for as long as it takes for them to do their side of this, you're welcome to hear this. Nothing's going to happen that'll matter for you. It'll be sensitive that you shouldn't hear. So you're welcome to hear what's going on. Okay. You guys, the remainder of you come out and you step into this, it's fairly early morning. You left right at the beginning of morning when you figured it would probably be safe out. And you step out and you're all looking around you and it feels like a pleasant day. It's, how some days just are a little moodier than others. You just don't feel a sense of any kind of threat. It's not quite pastoral. There's, the trees are still here. It's still the forest you're used to, but there's at least something in the air that is a slightly different quality that makes, maybe it's a little quieter than usual, or maybe it's the way the birds are singing or are not singing. You're not sure what, but you feel good. And then you notice Toll didn't emerge. Behind you, the swirling sphere of mist, this tunnel, as it arose and swelled up, it collapses in onto itself and dissipates on the ground of the forest floor. What do you do?
Diamondback doesn't notice at first that Tull is gone because he is searching around the environment for the runic inscriptions that he supposes might be in the area if this is a teleportation circle. He wants to find them and memorize them and write them down if he can.
Roll me an investigation check. Your DC is going to be... It's a little bit graded, but I'm going to say your full success DC is going to be 16.
All right. Investigation. That is 8 plus 5 is going to be 13.
Okay, so here's what you notice. You're definitely in a clearing, and it appears to be circular, the clearing of trees. There's not any in the middle of where you are. And the roots are strange around the edge of the clearing. They don't encroach all the way. They do also themselves seem to form not a solid circle, but they don't encroach past a certain radius from the center. So for some reason, it's almost like there's a natural circle of some kind here, but you don't sense any particular shapes or glyphs or anything.
While he's investigating, there's probably a couple minutes where others can do stuff.
I'm just going to take my bearings and see what forest we're in now, see if it looks familiar, and try to find a way forward.
Did anyone actually verbally acknowledge Toll not being there?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Belvari probably doesn't notice.
Inkatink probably is pretty perceptive of his surroundings, so you hear him say in Nino's voice, "Where is?" And then in a totally different case, Toll.
And Nino starts shouting as loud as her voice can. calling his name, thinking maybe he just landed and then zipped out somewhere.
Oh no.
It's not a very loud yell. Toll! Toll!
She's older and a gnome.
Yoshka goes back to where they just came out of and feels around. Where is the door?
Belvar would like to hide when he hears the yelling.
Is there a door to be found that we can go back through?
You were in the center of a clearing, and the mist clears, and you're just standing in the center of a clearing. Maybe 30 feet radius. Sorry, 30 feet diameter. Belvari, roll me a stealth check.
12.
You hide.
I think
I
my
can see him.
passive perception is above 12.
It's fine. I let him be.
So what do you do?
Well, if we call for him, we may find someone. That we don't want to find.
We can't leave yet. Let's take a sit, have a rest, see if he comes out a little later. But the smoke is gone.
Belvari whispers, maybe he didn't want to come with us.
Well, maybe some of us could wait here while others scout out ahead.
I will go and look for him.
Okay.
I think Inkatink just kind of scampers up beside him and just kind of like crouches down a little bit and stares at him.
Next to Diamondback?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can come too.
I'll probably just go in a different direction and say, "I'll stay close, Grandma, within calling distance."
Yes, stay within audible range of each other.
So how long do y'all want to look for him in your vicinity?
1 hour.
Okay. Roll me. Let's do each of you. Roll me an investigation check. You're going to be looking for toll or signs of anything, that could give you a clue.
13.
20.
9.
And I think Yoshka's not gonna too pointedly look for toll, but just kind of be exploring, like looking around.
Okay.
9.
And Dinkating? Josh?
I am pulling it up. Give me just 3 seconds.
Yeah, no problem.
2.
Aaron, you had a 20. Aaron Joy?
Yep.
Natural or with your...
Natural.
Natural 20. Okay.
It was a B.
All right.
That perceptive grandma.
Mm-hmm. She cares.
That's right.
Josh, you there? Or do you want me
Yep,
to
sorry,
roll for you?
8.
8?
8.
Okay. Aaron Joy, please roll me a D100.
Okay, I don't have that on D&D and Beyond, nor in person. Shall I roll 5d20s and add them up?
Probably an easier way would be 2d10s, and one of them is the tens spot, and one of them is the...
Oh, I see it. Okay, gotcha. $66.
Okay. Give me 1 second here. All right. So none of you have any sign of toll at all. But Neno, as you're looking around, you're all within earshot, and you're occasionally doing a little call to each other. Like either maybe probably Inkatink is something like a bird sound or something like that. And the others of you, maybe an occasional ping to let each other know where you are. Neno, it's been about an hour. You don't see anything, but you do come across one strange thing. In a group of trees and bushes, a little bit of underbrush, there appears to be a small wooden chest. It's roughly hewn, and it's only, the size of a loaf of bread. It's grown over with some roots and stuff. You can't easily get it. It's biggish for you, and also it's like really rooted in. It looks old.
Okay. Well, I don't plan to leave the clearing just yet in case the door opens back up. I might as well sit and try and wiggle it out.
Roll me.
And she does. She digs around it and scratches, uses, some stick or something to make the opening a little.
Roll me a strength check. DC 10.
Okay. Thanks. It's a natural 1.
Okay.
Oof.
It is really, really well grown. As a matter of fact, it seems as though some of the roots may have kind of grown tendrils into the wood of the chest. You suspect that somebody stronger than you could get it out, but it's going to be a real job if you were to try to do it by yourself. Everybody, it's been an hour, and people begin returning, only to let everybody know that they didn't find anything. You, however, are nearby the edge of the clearing and have found this. You can share that information if you like.
Yeah, Yoshka, can you help me?
Yes, Mom. I go over.
Yeah, and roll me a strength check, Yoshka. You're a big guy. We're going to make it a DC 5.
Natural 1.
Wow.
I think Inkatink comes over and starts pecking at it with his beak.
Yeah. Actually, you know what?
Thinking bird.
The other three of you see the commotion. Yoshka struggling and straining. Everybody roll a strength check. Who wants to try to pick up this?
When I come over to help Yoshka, with my help, he can roll with advantage because I'm helping. So he can roll again.
Sure.
So can I make a sleight of hand check to try to peck at it and peck it open?
It's not really a sleight of hand for this. You're just trying to loose it from where it is.
Hey, 19.
Okay. Yoshka, and will you... First, we're going to
21.
have Diamondback
21.
assist Yoshka. Yoshka, roll one more time for advantage on that.
10.
A 10. Okay. With Diamondback's help, you are able to pry it loose. It's not special as far as you can tell. It doesn't seem to be ornately carved or anything like that, but it is a little lockbox, a little wooden hewn lockbox that you may have something in it. As a matter of fact, when you shake it a little bit, you can hear something rattling around.
I'll hand it to Diamondback and say, "Do you want to try it?"
Yeah, I'll try and open it.
Okay. Now that it's free of all the roots, it's actually not that hard to open. You're able to get a stick in and just pry it open. It had previously had all those roots wound around it, but it wasn't. Excuse me. It wasn't especially strongly locked. You find inside of it 2 small potions. They're the little vials you're familiar with. They hold a few ounces of fluid. And they're clearly emitting or slowing off this kind of mist. You can tell is magical. They look a little bit different. They're not the same. They appear to be 2 different ones. You can put them into your pockets and continue on your way, or you can spend time here.
Grandma, do you want to look at them with your veil while I give you a piggyback around my shoulders?
DM, are these the kind of things that we can learn about the same way we learn about components?
Yeah.
We could at least try.
Good idea, Yoshka.
All right. You put your veil on and you do your, I dream of genie sort of thing or whatever, and to activate the veil. One of these, you swirl it, and the liquid inside swirls, but it swirls way too fast. And you realize this is a potion of speed. Drinking it will accelerate the drinker. The other,
Like,
you flick.
make you better at drinking quickly.
Say it again.
Like, make you better at drinking quickly.
It does. It reduces your alcohol tolerance, but you can down it fast. The other, you gently swirl it. It doesn't seem to respond much, and you flick it with your finger, and it still doesn't respond much. It doesn't seem to shake at all, and you realize it's actually a potion of invulnerability. I'll tell you more about the details of those later. Those are standard D&D things, but just to give you knowledge of this that you can share on mic or off with your party members. The duration of each would last 1 minute, so you could drink it, and you're either very fast for the one potion, or completely, or rather, you have the invulnerability D&D effect for 1 minute for the other potion. There's no
DM,
sign
how
of
much
toll.
is there?
Sorry.
How much is there? Enough for one person? Enough for multiple people?
One of each.
How big are the vials?
One person. Okay.
That's 10 rounds of combat if you're interested.
And I'm leading us onward to any trail-like things we may have found while we were searching around.
So what you do remember, Yoshka, is that there probably wouldn't be a trail directly how you need to go, but he gave you directions by landmark to go, continuing roughly north. And so you can follow those directions pretty well.
Okay.
While we're traveling, Inkatink would like. Sorry.
Towards a ravine.
Mm-hmm.
Are we heading north?
You're heading northward, yeah.
Okay. While they're traveling overland, sorry, real quick. While they're traveling overland, Inkatink wants to be grabbing components while he's walking along, Sir Robert, according to the racial feature that you and I had talked about. So keep going. Good. Sorry, Jared.
Which is to say, downstream?
You're slightly downstream. It's going mostly, at this point, you're going mostly clockwise around the circle. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. I'm trying to imagine this. Last time I was saying north and south, you said, well, because there's no sun in this, people don't think of it like that.
Can somebody get that for Neno?
Got it.
Yeah, and Yoshka, Jared, a good way to think about that is just to give our listening audience a sense of this. If you imagine that the headwaters, as everybody calls them, are at the center of this place where you are, and the streams come out, you're at roughly 8:30, 9 o'clock on a clock. Like if 12 is due north, you're roughly 8:30, 9 o'clock. So you're kind of halfway off center to the left, and you're traveling north and a little bit west, which is to the extent that you're going west, you're going kind of downstream. To the extent that you're going north, you're kind of going clockwise. Does that make sense?
I can imagine the map of it and where we're going. I just can't imagine from the people's perspective what would orient us to go a certain direction.
Yeah. Everybody has a pretty good innate sense of direction for a couple of reasons. The sky lightens the canopy lightens in one area first in the mornings and lightens in another area. So you have a sense of which way you're going. Also, the mist swirls and generally seems to always flow slowly downstream from no matter where you are.
Okay.
So from that perspective, you can orient yourself very, very well.
Yeah. If you're paying attention. You could also be not paying attention. You could be herding your pigs or something and not paying attention to that. But and so it's possible to get lost, but it's also
Das foolish Schweinhut.
So what is our experience of which direction we're going?
I'll tell you, the players, your experience is that your guys, you're going north and a little tiny bit west. Your experience is that you're traveling Diamondback away from your home, which is you've been generally traveling away from your home, and you're going a little bit towards the beast side, away from the bell, but not enough that you're like going into the heart of the beast. It's just slanting slightly that way. So a few hours have passed. Y'all are traveling and making decent time. It's midday, and I'd like and y'all just pick, or you can rotate. I don't really care how you do this, but roll me a D100. Somebody. It doesn't matter how you pick. You're going to be rolling a fair number of them, so you can do it any way you like.
I will roll my D100.
Yeah, right. That thing will be
If
done in,
only
like,
someone
3
had a
hours.
die with 100 sides. Sorry, Dwight, what?
It'll be
Almost
done rolling
done.
in like 3 hours.
Oh, no, still rolling. Hold on. Almost. And
Oh my word.
there we go.
Is this a roulette table?
89.
89, okay. Excuse me.
I nominate Jared to roll the next one on D&D Beyond. Goodness gracious.
So here's what happens. As you're going, you find you're going just traveling, and it's been several hours of travel. You have not seen hide nor hair of Toll, but you don't know what to do, right? You have no sense of where he is. You, as you're going Diamondback, you look off to the side, and something catches your attention. It kind of is an odor, but it's not exactly. You look, and there's a conspicuously circular little group of mushrooms laying on the floor of the forest here, and you see in it a carcass in the circle, kind of laying in the mushrooms, and maybe they're growing out of it, the carcass of a fire-beaked eagle.
And I recognize that as a significant source of magical components, and so I go over to harvest them.
You do. You get a sense that it is magical.
One moment, friends. I see a source of some magics over there.
I would like to see if there is a trap.
Roll and
I'm still wearing the veil. I'm happy to look around for us.
it lasts. You have 4 charges a day, and you have 1 hour per charge, which is totally cool. You can totally do that. Just to let you know, you'll have to use a second charge to do that at this moment to figure out what's in the fire beak.
It also only.
Oh, have we gone on?
It's
have we gone an hour since I put it on to view the vials?
Yeah, it's midday-ish.
Gotcha.
I think you might have been.
My passive investigation is 15, in case that makes any difference.
You don't sense any problems. You're able to harvest components out of it pretty well. You have no issues. It's just odd to see a dead eagle laying here in the woods.
Can Inkatink make a medicine check to try to figure out how or why it died?
You can.
What do I get, Sir Robert?
You get...
Roll the 20.
I gotta find my dice. Where did I put them?
Belvari says, it's safe to harvest those components.
I'm already harvesting them when you say that, but I appreciate it.
Ain't nothing gonna stop me from these components.
All right, let me pour out
getting them components.
Why was an eagle on the ground and
Inkatink rolled a
died
20.
in this circle?
Inkatink rolled a 20 medicine check to answer that question.
Yoshka, will you ask it again so I can get a clean clip of it?
Why was an eagle on the ground? And why did it die in this circle?
All right. And Inkatink rolled...
Belvari tries to hide with a 21.
Okay. Matt, here's what you get. 2 claws.
Gross.
1 piece of bone. and 4 bits of beak.
So he's just ripping this carcass apart, probably at least up to his wrists and blood and
Yeah.
feathers and.
And
He
do I
spends-
get to what? Can I spend a casting of detect magic to figure out what they are, or?
Do you want to do that right now?
Yes. Well,
Sure.
hold on. I thought I had a bunch of detect magic. Oh yeah, I do. I spend 1 cast of detect magic to figure out what they are.
Okay. And let me think here. Yeah, that's fine. You're able to see these. The beak has lesser restoration. The bone has spare the dying and bestow curse. Those are levels 0 and 3 respectively, and the beak one was level 2.
Level 2 and spare the dying is 0, and bestow curse is what?
Bestow curse is 3.
Nice.
And the claw has level 0 minor illusion, level 4 stone shape, and level 7 simulacrum. There's nothing more of particular interest about this. It's just something that Diamondback noticed. However, something
I'm sorry, for my records, what's the name of the animal again?
Fire-beaked eagle.
Thank you.
Yep. Something... Oops, we lost Aaron Joy. Okay.
She said she's going to go and come back because it's cutting out too much.
Okay. Something strikes you all as strange when you find this eagle... When you find this eagle on the ground, you notice it has a little bit of a odor, a stench about it. You know, it's been dead for maybe a day or so. And then you realize you're actually smelling this smell kind of all over as you walk. You have a sense that there are quite a few dead animals. And as you continue, you notice actually the forest is strangely quiet. There's just not a lot of animal noise.
I wonder if this was the long night.
An eagle? Do you think that there were flying plants that killed even eagles? Could not escape? I think it's something else.
Every bird has to roost.
We can't hear you, Aaron Joy. I'm sorry. You're muted.
Even eagles live in trees. If the trees are shaking out everything, they're
It
going
is
to
still strange. He
shake
was
out the...
if he was killed up in the limbs to fall right in this. What is this? This reminds me of my father would tell me of fairy circles.
Aaron Joy, will you say your bit again so I can get a clean cut of it for the podcast part? Even eagles. Okay, that's fine.
He's saying
Even eagles have to live in trees. If the trees were shaking out what they could shake, they're going to
Someone
shake out the
trying to talk?
eagles.
Good. Okay. That was good. Thanks, Aaron. So there's nothing here more to see. You can continue on your way if you like.
So Inkatink got a 20 medicine check to figure out what happened to the eagle.
It was crushed to death.
Inkatink makes the sound of the logs smashing into things and like reproduces that boom, boom.
Perhaps then it may have been the long night that took this beast's life.
All right. You want to continue on?
Yeah.
For this next watch, roll me a D100.
I'll do it. I've got my D100 right here.
61. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no. Take Yoshka's.
What was it?
61.
Okay. Yoshka, as you're going, you notice another crushed animal, another dead animal. It's a, excuse me, it is a larger creature this time. It's at least part of a larger creature. It's furry and white and it's bigger than an elk, and it has almost like an elephant look, but it's woolly and covered with some kind of hair.
Guys, look at this. Do you know what beast this is?
Can we make a nature check?
Yeah, or you can just, some of you have seen it. It's a mammoth.
It's a beast I would not want to fight. I'm glad he's already dead for us. Let's harvest while we can.
Belvari wants all of the pieces.
Here's what you're able
Friend
to get.
Shapeshifter, you should have the harvest of this creature.
You get
Belvari jumps out of the woods. Very quietly.
Inkatink and Diamondback like step aside from the place where he comes out of the bushes before he comes out.
No, you don't know where I am. I rolled a 21.
Yeah, he rolled a 21 this last time. We don't know.
Okay.
You get Inkatink. Not Inkatink. I'm sorry, Belvar. You are in there, and you are able to get. It has been crushed severely. Like I said, it's part of a mammoth. You get
Gotcha.
one tooth and one usable bit of brain.
I need only 26 more or something.
Do they have to be components, or can they just be pieces of the animal?
Magic.
They have to be components.
We are just butchers of the animal world. It's like, how must this shape our thinking when we look at our fallen friends?
Yeah, your mountain men, as it were. And
Yeah,
ladies.
Belvari noticed a whole bunch of little pieces of Inkatink, whatever creature you are, and a whole bunch of pieces of Neno in that last haul of components.
Yeah. So we're getting. There's nothing more about this, but the mammoth is much larger and had been bashed open, and the stench of it is. It's been a couple of days now. It's getting pretty bad. That's perhaps why you were only able to get 2 little usable bits out of this mammoth. You can continue on your way. It's around the 3rd watch. What would you like to do? It'll be dark in a few hours.
I would like to look for some. Wait, what? I had said that while we were walking, I'd wanted to look for components.
Uh-huh.
I think that's 2 stints that we've gone now.
Yeah. Let me get you some real quickly.
You can do that at break or afterwards.
That sounds good.
For shelter.
That sounds good. Belvari, what'd you say?
I will look for shelter.
Okay.
Yeah, I will help Belvari look for shelter. I think that if there's only a couple of hours left, that's urgent. I guess I didn't realize how late it was.
Everybody roll a survival check who wants to help look for shelter.
Yay! 12.
I'm sorry, not a survival check. I'm sorry, a survival check, and then the highest roll a D100.
9.
9.
13.
Belvari?
12.
Okay. Inkatink, why don't you roll a D100?
54.
So as y'all are walking through, you find the best thing you can find. You've got probably another hour left before nightfall, but there's a good, solid, rocky overhang. It's not quite a cave, but it's a good hollow with a rock that juts out maybe 20 15 feet, and you can definitely, have a constrained view of the opening that you could probably block with branches and brambles if you worked for an hour.
Belvar will start blocking it with branches and brambles.
And Nino wants to try to harvest what she can while she can.
Okay.
So
you build a fire. Night falls, and you are. Go ahead.
sorry, real quick. Can she? I know there might not be more components, but can she and Inkatink, or I guess Inkatink, can she cut a big piece of leather, a big piece of skin off of the mammoth,
Sure.
or like a blanket or something like that? So okay.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit smelly.
Sure, for now.
Yeah. Okay.
Diamondback takes part of the time to help Belvari, and then he also takes the hour of meditation that it requires to change the type of snake that his staff will become, so that he can make it into a giant boa constrictor to guard them overnight.
Yeah, you do so. The night passes very, very quietly. There just aren't birds, and there aren't animals. There are not even very many insects. It's just quiet. In the morning, you see light through the brambles that you've blocked off the front of the overhang with. It was completely uneventful, the quietest night you can remember, and you're able to go.
Okay, let's break fast and go.
All right. Here's what we're going to do. Sorry, go ahead.
Didn't we have whatever. Inkatink and Nino, I guess, try to at night Inkatink is like using his beak to scrape the flesh off of the thing whenever he's not asleep in his spare time. So it's at least clean of like fat and flesh. So he rolls it up.
Okay, sounds good. So, you realize this is a really good time for you to travel. There just perhaps because of the false night or the long night, as Yoshka says, doesn't seem to be anything around. The stench has been getting more severe, and you found a few more animals in the first few hours of your travel the next day, but honestly, nothing usable from them. They have gotten so decayed that it's just kind of gross. So you find a few animals, but they're mostly rotten by now. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to let you travel the remaining several days, and we're just going to roll a D100 each day and see what you find. You're just going to find some fun stuff.
Can we... Diamondback would like to... I seem to recall that there's a thing we can do where we can use up some detect magic casts as we walk to increase our chance of finding particular components.
You may.
Diamondback really wants to find the components that are needed for the spells locate objects, detect magic, and find the path, which are the ones that are needed for the potion machine.
Yeah.
And he's and he has spent some money at Garriott's sort of component store so that he has 34 casts of detect magic available and would be willing to spend through a bunch of them looking for those specific components to try and make this potion as we go.
Okay. So we'll do that, but we're not going to spend narrative time in the podcast for that right now. We can just accumulate those and do them all at once later, which is totally fine. And we'll roll some dice for that in a more compact way. One of the things you all notice is this is a really rare opportunity to explore a little. As you're walking, as you're traveling, you're not as concerned with getting eaten by wild dogs or something because there don't seem to be any. So, here's what we're going to do.
Also, if we're doing this for multiple days, if this narratively plays in at all, each day towards not sunset, but an hour before sunset, if nothing else has happened, Inkatink disappears up into the air for 10 minutes and then
Okay.
comes back. So you tell me if that makes a big difference in terms of how we travel.
Okay. So it does not at this moment.
Okay.
Okay. So somebody roll me a D100. We're going to roll some D100s. Roll it for me.
Josh?
Okay, I can do that again. I got it right here.
25.
25.
20. Oh, Dwight rolled it. 25 from Dwight.
Okay.
Dwight beat you to it.
Yeah, you find this clearing as you're going around investigating, and it's clearing's a little bit of a strong word for it. It's really just a small spot where there's fewer trees than you would expect. But the strange thing about it is there's just huge piles of white petals here. It almost looks like it's covered in snow or something. There don't seem to be any white flowers that you can tell, but there's just a lot of white petals. You go through and you kick them around, and you kind of investigate them to see, and you actually figure out that they're not exactly, they slide really smoothly, they more than you would expect. And you realize after a few minutes there's a naturally occurring in the center of this area, there's a naturally occurring kind of fungus or something. But you pick it up and squeeze it, and you realize it is a little edible fungus that will grant you it is an oil of etherealness. We'll talk about what that is, but you'll get it in 1 minute. You'll get it for 1 minute if you were to eat this little bit of fungus. You pick it up, one of you picks it up, and you have it. There it is.
Somebody put it in your inventory.
Yeah. Put in...
Was it Belvari who rolled?
Belvari,
put it in your inventory.
And you can call that...
What's it called?
Oil. You can call that a fungus and oil of etherealness. I'll write these all up and actually make them into your inventory, but I'll write down whose they are, or who's got them in their inventory too. All right. Somebody roll me a D100. Oh, sorry. The day continues. You find a good place to rest. It's not especially, there doesn't seem to be any creatures, and night passes and morning passes, and you travel for another day to the north. Somebody roll me a D100.
Josh, your turn.
Okay, I was going to say, Matt, you should pre-roll.
Yeah, you should start rolling now, and then next time.
I'll pre-roll my next one. I'll roll
Yeah.
it now. But Josh, this is your time, right?
67.
Ooh, got a high one.
All right.
Hot dog, rolling high. All right.
Sorry. All right. You come to this, there's a creek that you come across every so often, and you're getting to where a ravine that you would expect to be able to cross. The land is getting a little more like that. And you find this especially interesting pool, Inkatink, as you're walking, and it reflects, when you look into it, you notice it kind of seems like it's reflecting a different kind of trees that are around you. It's a strange oddity, perhaps some peculiarity of the forest, of the magic that swirls about. However, you end up doing that, and sorry, I'm just writing your name on that. You scoop a little bit of the water out, and you realize as you touch it that if you were to scoop this water into a small phial, and you have several of them from Gary at a little potion container, you got them from him that you could use with the potion machine, that it would be a potion that your fingers get kind of strange, and you realize this is a potion of aqueous form. 15 minutes of fluidity, of waterness.
Nice.
I put Inkatink on there. Somebody roll me the day passes. You find a good place to rest. You're traveling further to the north. You're going a little bit upwards. It's getting rockier. You're under a different kind of tree now, a great tree. Somebody roll me a D100 for the next day.
37.
37.
Almost presciently does he pronounce.
All right. you, Diamondback, are going, and as y'all are roving kind of around, you're staying within earshot of each other, but Diamondback, you notice this archway. It seems to be completely natural, but it's woven together, trees and branches intertwining, almost like some sort of natural shrine or something. You can't tell what it is for sure. You find at the center of it a small wooden altar looking thing. It's like a stump, but it's been carved. And you find that if you poke at it a little bit as you're just exploring it, you're able to pull open a few pieces from it. And you find in it one potion of diminution. When you drink it, it'll last for 1d4 hours to become very small.
Nice. It looking like an altar. Can I think really hard about what religion it might be from or what god it might be to?
Yeah, do a history check.
Not a religion check?
Oh, I'm sorry, religion check. I forgot that was its own thing.
Haha, here comes a religion check. That's going to be a 9.
It's probably them dryads. That's what a 9 gives you.
Says, a wooden altar in the midst of the forest. It may be dryads. We should move on quickly. Come. Very seriously.
Yeah. You get back together, though there were no signs of the dryad other than the little temple thing. But you get back, you spend another night. This is honestly one of the least stressful times of your lives, and for the past month for sure. Somebody roll me a D100 for the next day.
44.
Okie dokie. All right. You come to a part of the forest. It's not even very big. You can actually see all the way through it, but oddly, it's winter in the forest, in this patch. You look closer.
Is that something we recognize?
Yeah, I mean, it's
This
cold.
winter concept we have?
Yeah, it's cold and it's icy within there, like it's like rain has fallen from the trees as it normally does. And you know this happens sometimes in the world, and it's out of season, it seems to you. But there are a set of small canes growing here, and Yoshka, as you kind of mess with them, one of them in particular seems to have this swirling darkness around it. It's just, it looks like sugar cane or something like that. It's just growing. It's not sugar cane, but it's just a cane of reed or something. You snap it off, and as you do, off in the distance, almost like you tapped it like a wand, and an ice storm begins far away. This is a wand of ice storm. It has. I'm just telling you what Yoshka has. It has 2 uses of ice storm. All right.
Used to have 3.
That's right. Somebody roll me a D100.
I believe it's Belvari's turn again.
We could do one for Neno.
Neno should roll. Yeah.
I rolled for her 33.
We'll do Nano next. You rolled a 43?
33.
33. Roll me again, please.
Again.
A different number?
100.
Oh, okay.
33 to...
Yep. Yoshka.
About 23.
I thought you said 100?
Oh, no. I was in D100 again.
Oh,
Sorry.
D100, yeah. Okay, and you said 23?
Yeah.
Okay. Yoshka, there is a tree here. It's a thick... sorry, hold on. I almost have it. Where did it go?
Is this Yoshka that's noticing this? Or...
I'm sorry, Belvari, I meant to say. There's a thick old tree here, and it's not... There's nothing interesting about it. as you're far away from it, but when you come closer, you realize it's got a door in it.
I point to the door and say, hey, look at that door, guys. Is it still winter, or have we left?
You've left that spot. It was just a small patch.
Gotcha.
I suppose
I'll
the
go
polite.
over. Go ahead.
I suppose the polite thing is to knock.
Belvari will allow someone else to knock on the door.
I'll knock on the door.
Yoshka, knock on the door.
You do so. Nothing happens.
Hello.
Belvari will walk up and open the door and go inside the tree.
Belvari, you boldly put your hand on the knob of the door and it swings towards you, and you just walk straight into whatever's in there. And it turns out you walk into Toll walking out.
What?
Bump.
Like just face
There
to
you
face.
are.
Bam.
Patrick, are you there?
I am. What did I walk out of?
Belvari put his hand on a kind of wooden doorknob of a door that was in a tree, and he pulled it open, and you have apparently were on the other side of the door with your hand on the doorknob pushing it outward, and you walk into each other.
Toll is gonna look behind him. What does Toll see when he looks behind him?
You look behind you into the tree, and you see the inside of a tree. It's hollow, perhaps 4 feet diameter. It was a little tight in there, you think, probably.
So this is where
Belvari says,
your
hey, look, I found him. I told you I would find him.
Hello.
Can we come in?
This is not how you find people who are lost in the woods. There's a procedure. This is not it.
That's how we find him.
This is how you find people who are at home in a town. Tall, what happened to you?
Inkatink laughs like a kookaburra.
Does Toll know what happened to him? Is he sort of like not sure?
I mean, you remember the most recent part clearly, but the other parts you have the memory I described.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm not quite sure what happened. I heard someone saying my name when we were walking through whatever that thing was, and I poked my head through the wall to see if I could see who was talking, and I ended up speaking to an old man who offered me a gift.
Where is the old man? I would speak with him as well.
Where's the gift?
Both good questions. Yeah, I don't have it yet, do I?
You have it in your hand.
Oh, okay. Toll will hold out his hand and show you a highly polished, nondescript wooden staff of 3 feet in length.
And let me describe for you guys really quickly what you see when he holds it out. It's a highly polished staff made from beautiful cedar. There's a deep reddish grain marble that runs the entire length of it from top to bottom. It's about 3 feet long and seems to be a single solid piece of beautiful wood that's been well crafted.
And it jingles, right?
You think you can hear a faint tinkling sound from within when you shake it.
Toll's not going to shake it.
Beautiful. Did the old man make it?
Getting a straight answer out of that old man was not an easy task. Although I get the impression he was more of a courier than a craftsman.
Well, let's get going, guys. We found our toll.
Along our way, after this, Yoshka will find Diamond back at his side as we go along. And Diamondback is going to say, Yoshka, you and your people are well traveled and know much about the forest. Have you heard of... No. I was trained my whole life to be a very dangerous person among other dangerous people in a dangerous place full of extraordinarily dangerous animals in a dangerous political situation and dangerous social customs. And I feel very out of place right now.
I know how you feel. I keep thinking something will come to eat us. And I have been dreaming of, well, of Celine and Davina. And
Celine would have that effect on most men.
and Splint. And this seems like not the same. I
Do you
am not
think-
comfortable here either.
Do you think perhaps that Garriott accidentally sent us to another world entirely, or a different time, or are we perhaps in such a place as the Feywild, or the astral plane, or Arcadia, the heavens, or what could explain this? Do you think that just all the predators were destroyed by the long night?
That is how I am inclined. I am wondering, what is left of the bell?
Y'all don't have to re-explain it, but Toll will wonder and ask what y'all are talking about with the dead animals. But I was listening, so I heard all of that.
Okay.
And as Yoshka says that, faintly in the distance, far away, not quite near, you do indeed hear the tolling of a bell. And that's where we'll end this episode. We're going to take our 10-minute break. We will be back and see what happens.
I shouldn't have said that.
The first shot that we have to do when we come back is everybody describing the camera turns on this person and this is how they react to hearing the iron bell. Like just like this is what it looks like, just a split second.
So that's where we'll end this episode. Thanks for listening. You can get more details about the world and the story we're telling at the starfallcollective.com. For those of you listening live, we'll be back in maybe 5-10 minutes, about 9:15, 9:20. Thanks.
Thanks. I don't know if it'll be
This is The Dying of the Light, Season 3 of the Starfall Collective. The Starfall Collective is a collaborative storytelling group using the Dungeons & Dragons game system as a vehicle for creating rich and compelling stories in a fictional world that we've been developing together for a while. You can find out more about the collective, as well as the stories we're telling, at thestarfallcollective.com. We're back with a new episode. Let's find out who's in this episode. I'm Sir Robert Burbridge, a father and entrepreneur, and I'm the host of this season's story. With me tonight are a few friends playing the characters in this drama. Please say your name, something about yourself if you like, and a brief description of the character you're playing. We'll start this time with Aaron Joy.
Hi. I'm playing Neno. She's old but adventurous. It is sinking into her that after a week on the road, she might never actually get back home, and that's making her a little grumpy.
Okay. Patrick?
Yes, my name is Patrick. I am playing the half-orc, now revealed as a druid, Toll. And Toll has got himself a shiny stick, and he's just happy as a clam about it.
Good. Dwight?
I am Belvari, and I am playing a nondescript human druid who's 16 years old
Okay.
and acts like it.
What was the last thing you said?
And acts like it.
And Matt?
Hi, my name is Matthew Talamini. I'm a writer and web developer based in Providence, Rhode Island. You can find my stuff at MatthewTalamini.com. That's Matthew, TALAMINI.com. I'm playing the shirtless wizard, Diamondback.
Good. And Josh?
Hi, my name's Josh. I'm a software developer and Sasquatch enthusiast. You can find my interview on the Bigfoot Society podcast, and I'm playing Inkatink tonight, a creature of many voices, but not one.
Okay. And Jacob?
Hey, I am Jacob Burbridge, and my character has yet to be introduced, but he will be introduced today, hopefully not as a dead corpse. So that's great.
Is Diamondback gonna resurrect him?
Good. And Jared?
I'm playing Yoshka, a bard who was just not exactly comforted, but something close to comforted and struck with terror.
Okay. Let's get started. Previously, our party has been traveling for quite a while, a week or more now, and have found some really interesting stuff on their journeys. It's been an unusual time in the forest. After the false night where they have been, they were terrorized, sort of, for quite a while. One of the things that they heard, the listening audience will remember, is they heard noises of animals in the forest, often followed by the sounds of creaking of slowly awakening trees, followed then by silence. Perhaps what they're experiencing now is a consequence of that. They're traveling further north, and one of the things that Garriott mentioned to them as he talked a little bit about the night is that these false nights, these long nights, as some areas call them, are localized phenomena. These are things that happen not in every area simultaneously. So who knows how far it stretches that the creatures have died. We may or may not find out. At the end of the last episode, Toll had a strange excursion away from the party, and perhaps an even more strange reunion with the party as he and Belvari sort of chest bumped into reacquaintanceship. Belvari opened a strange door on a tree and strode in as out strode Toll, and the two of them remade their acquaintance.
You hear a shrewd and somewhat surly, small man's voice come out of Inktink's mouth, and he says,
Unimaginable.
And at the end of the last episode, Diamondback and Yoshka were talking about what this may be that's happening to them. Yoshka mentioned one of the strangest things for him has been the absence of the Iron Bell. As he mentioned it, they heard, maybe for the first time, or maybe they had been hearing it in the distance and not paying much attention. It's hard to know for sure. It's very far away and very faint, the tolling of a bell, and one of the Iron Bell sounds. Tell me, what do you do when you hear that? It's pretty far away, and bells ring out and go a long distance, so it does not sound like it's right upon you. You would guess that you would have to travel a fair distance to go get them if you were going to try to meet them. Not that you would.
Can I give a visual?
Yeah.
So, looking at Diamondback maybe from a little distance, what you see is a fairly scrawny, wiry young man with jet black hair, and he has got a tattoo of snake scales going all down his back, and he has got a flame spell flickering above his shoulders, and no shirt at all, and tight black pants, and recent addition is a necklace on a leather thong of human fingers hanging down, and maybe the beginning of a couple of magical runes inscribed on the bones of the fingers. And what you see when the sound of the bell reaches him is he looks to it, and you see his hand go up to his chest and touch a place where those who've been following his story would remember he was once grievously wounded almost to death, but which is now
doesn't he still have like a divot there or a scar or something?
He still has a scar, but it is covered now by the bones of his enemies, which he touches instead in this sort of now habitual fear response.
Right. Very priestly.
Belvari, when he heard the bell, immediately hid, and he did pretty well. He rolled a 21.
The second Inkatink hears the bell, you see all the feathers on his neck, like goosebumps raising, like they all flick out, and suddenly his neck is way wider and way more puffy than before, and his head pivots at a very inhuman angle, and points immediately in the direction of the sound that he heard. And you see him draw a dagger from somewhere and draw a component out of somewhere else, and his body turns to match the direction of his head.
How about you, Yoshka?
I suppose I look over at the people I'm with and say, if we were with my father, he would know what to do. He knows. Well, no, actually, here's what Yoshko would say in reaction to the bell. No. Here we are. Yes, we are still here, Diamondback. And I feel we need to know how our enemy stands.
Toll, what's your reaction?
Did you say that you had put the staff in my component pouch?
No, I'll add it to your D&D Beyond inventory. I have to write it up. I didn't know which one you were going to go with.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Although I can copy and paste some info so you can see what it is.
That would be good, just so I know if there's anything I can do that's useful right now.
Yeah, I'll do that while you tell us your reaction to hearing the bell. Now, just to remind our listening audience, Toll has had probably the most up close and personal experience of the Iron Bell of any of you.
So, is this an appropriate time to throw in some of my headcanon for my character that pertains to this? And you can tell me whether it's valid or not?
Let's have Toll go first.
Okay, yeah.
And we'll hear what he's doing.
Yeah.
Toll, while usually stoic, is worried at this sound and kind of looks unsure and glances around at his party members to sort of see who's going to take the lead. He's not really confident in his decision making when he hears that bell.
That makes sense. And he's a young man too, right? A half-orc?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So...
Nino looks around her for Belvari, who she thinks of as boy, to jump in between him and the sound, doesn't see him, and steps in between Toll and the sound instead, and just glares in the direction of the noise.
The wicked eye of Nino has been cast upon
she
the Iron
is,
Bell.
and she is a little tiny old gnome lady, and he is a big beefy boy of a half orc.
The beefiest boy we have right now.
Boy.
Well, if any of the Iron Bell took shelter as we did, they will be too much for us. They travel in groups of what? 3 groups of 3? 4 groups of 3? And they have their...
I think either Toll or Inkatink would... I remember somewhere along the way somebody said that out loud.
They would what?
Acknowledge which one is the more common size of the caravan of the Iron Bell in these areas. Like you get 3 groups of 3 in an area, and then they cluster and they move, cluster, move, cluster, move.
Does Toll know which it is?
No, Toll hasn't
Right.
dealt with them up close and personal to the extent that he knows how they operate. Were the slavers were Iron Bell, or were they somebody else?
The orcs, the orcs who captured you
okay.
had traded you, and you had been enslaved by the Iron Bell for a little while.
Gotcha.
The tribute patrol who came to collect tribute from the orc town, you all would know this. Sometimes the tribute patrols will take different kinds of things. In some cases, they'll take any kind of magical components or artifact, if that's appropriate. From some towns, they take people. And this orc town in particular went out slaving and kept a pen of slaves in order to offer up in lieu of their own people when the slavers came. Toll, you had been captured by them, the orcs, sometime previously, and had been given to the Iron Bell. The Iron Bell had you basically in bondage with them, traveling, and had looped back to the orc town and were there to pick somebody up when this party who had rescued Orden, the young man from Miradau, made an escape. You, seizing the opportunity, escaped with them.
I suppose I would know then what their numbers were.
What you've seen, Toll, just to then, I'll give you what your knowledge of their movements and such are.
Sure.
Let me just really quickly grab this. There we go. I'm going to the appropriate place in the appropriate document. All right. Um, Toll, you were under the control of a pack leader named Griffith. Griffith had under him 2 crewmasters. One was named Yat. He's the one who was traveling with you. You don't know the name of the other. Those crewmasters each had a couple of guys under them. It wasn't ever like a firm amount. It wasn't a highly regimented group. But Yat usually had 2 guys helping him. Often that was what a crewmaster would have. Griffith, the pack leader, had a couple of crews under him. So that means that, generally speaking, 6 or 8 people were traveling around at a time. And sometimes they would get another crew there that would join them for something, maybe on loan from a different crewmaster. I'm sorry, from a different pack leader.
Does the tenor of the bell tell me anything?
It doesn't.
Okay.
The bells were not all identical, but they were all, they were the same. They indicated the same things.
Gotcha.
Diamondback will say to Yoshka, it's probably not more than 3 to 6 of them. Unless they're close to a town, then we're likely to be able to kill them while they're alone in the wilderness without bringing any repercussions on innocent civilians.
And Toll, sorry to interrupt, I'll fix this order in a minute. The last thing I was going to say, Toll, is that you also heard Griffith, who was a pack leader, talking about his fellow pack leader, who was a peer, named Vorak, who together, Vorak and Griffith, answered to someone named Spolash.
Vorak was the one outside the
Mirrodau.
outside Mirrodau, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
You, Inkatink steps up to the 2 of them having the conversation and says, "Thum, thum, thum," and the sound of thumping on wood comes out of his mouth. "Open this gate! Spolash will hear!" And you hear in the exact voice of that orc in that fight that night. You hear that dialogue come out of his mouth.
You would guess, all of you, as you stand listening for a few minutes and discussing what to do. As I said, it sounds like this group is far away. But you would guess, now that you've been here for 15 minutes trying to figure out the best course of action, if you had to, you would say that you're guessing that they're approximately, a couple of hours away from you over this terrain. It would take time, both of you walking towards each other, to meet. Like I said, it's far in the distance. You can hear some tolling. However, you would also guess that maybe it sounds perhaps like they might be coming generally northward as well. They're far to your south. They were, it's from the sort of south, let's see, sorry, give me a second, southeastward, roughly the direction you were coming from, but not exactly. And you can just hear the bell, and it tolls intermittently. You think that you could make pretty good time towards your destination if you were to leave. But if you stay here, they may or may not come near you. I mean, obviously, there's a huge distance between you, and they could go, a half mile one way or a half mile the other way and miss you.
Well, I think they toll only when they near a village. And the village may be a bigger danger than 3 members of the Bell. If they want to get a favor and side with the Bell, then we would all die. I think our best chance is to go and speak with the Old Blood. They know all the villages around here. They will know. I think they will know what kind of opportunity this is too, because they have their books, and surely they will know what the last long night was like. If nobody objects, I'll just start leading us towards
Inkatink's head swivels in the direction of the north, the direction that magical object was, and his feet start to kind of flutter. He's kind of stomping back and forth on his feet quickly.
Once
So-
I have the power that Garriott unlocked with the potion machine, then I will kill all the Iron Bell, and I can wait until then.
Inkatink's feet stop fluttering, and he just like walks over to Diamondback and just kind of like shakes his head up and down.
That's called nodding your head.
He doesn't know. I mean, he doesn't know the difference. So
I think you are right, Diamondback. Tell me what to look for, and I will help you find these things. Which is to say, I'm gonna next time,
Yeah.
Diamondback.
Inkatink pulls out the cube and pantomimes doing the whole procedure, but in like 5 seconds. So just like.
The
Yeah,
little
we got to
potion
look for
machine.
the ingredients, though. And I've been looking, and we're going to get some from our dungeon master at the end of this.
'Tis true.
Yeah.
So you continue on your way. By your guess, you're about 6 days away, just based on what Gary had said. You're not 100% sure, but that's about how much it feels based on his rough telling. How much of your attention, you've been exploring, how much of your attention do you want to put to exploring versus moving quickly at this point?
I know Inkatink and Nino have been working on something with the woolly mammoth fur, but I think Nino, that's your call. Do you remember we were talking about the art? Whatever. Maybe we should do this in post.
How much?
Yoshka would just kind of feel out how hard it is to find stuff in this area and try to find some optimal balance where it feels like we're making good pace, but still finding some stuff.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is you go the pace you've been going, which is at a sort of leisurely pace, and finding some cool stuff. And 10 is you are hell-bent on getting there fast and you don't look for anything at all. What number?
Hold on a
do you
minute. Yoshka, you get a 16 persuasion check worth of argument from Diamondback to slow down and look for components more versus speeding up and getting there quicker.
Tell me a number.
I'm game to just heed that.
To just what?
To just heed that.
Okay, so tell me a number, 1 to 10. 1 is really
Yeah.
nice leisurely travel. 10 is breakneck.
I'm letting Matt set the pace for a bit.
Okay. Yeah, so 5. Half
Okay.
exploring, half making progress.
Okay, sounds good. You go on your
Every
way.
hour we make progress, we spend another hour searching for components.
And as I mentioned, we'll do component stuff offline. I'll tell you about it. I'll summarize it next time to give you a sense, and I'll roll it up and make it, make sense. Toll, roll me a D100, please.
All right. Toll would want to hurry, but he will defer to his party members.
Okay.
And that is a 40.
40. Okie dokie.
Not because he doesn't, want to speak up, but because he trusts them.
Yeah. No problem. There is, as y'all are walking and you're moving, not quickly, but you're keeping up time. You know what's behind you. You haven't heard the bell tolling in quite a while, but you come and the the sounds of the forest, the rustling of the trees, that sort of thing, have been growing back for the past days that you've been traveling. It's not by any means like it was, but you're hearing birds again. Perhaps the void of animals here has been, maybe there's been some migration from other areas coming in to fill this gap. But you come to a place where it's a glade, sort of, a kind of glade in the forest, and it's just silent. The trees are still blowing, but you don't hear the rustling of the leaves. And Toll, you are the first to notice this, and you comment about it to your friends, but to your surprise, they don't seem to hear you, and then you notice that you don't hear you either. It is completely silent here. As a matter of fact, you realize you can't hear your footsteps, your voices, or anything. You find actually on the ground a collection of little empty vials. 3 seem to have completely spilled and are soaked into the ground, and 2 still remain. They appear to have a potion in them that produces a sphere of silence.
We walked into the
Belvari
sphere.
lays down for the night.
That's right. What'd you say, Toll?
We walked into this sphere. The potions were already there, and we just stumbled into it.
You did. You're finding occasionally strange effects in the forest, and this time you were able to discover the cause of it. Appears to be these little potions that have caused a sphere of silence that you're guessing will fade away, but it is still here, and there are 2 potions of that. Toll, I will add that to your inventory. I took a note on it. Neno, will you please roll me a D100? Y'all continue to travel. You make good time. You do find some components on the way, which I'll enumerate later off air for everybody. I'll put them in your component pouches. The next day, as y'all are traveling, Neno, what do you roll?
Would one of you guys mind rolling for me? I had to close down that for bandwidth.
I can do it if you like.
Thank you.
Here we go. Alrighty. Let's see. You rolled a 14. Neno, as you're going along, you see an unusual sight. You don't seem to be near any roads. You don't seem to be near any towns. But there's a stump that has been cut. Not freshly. It's just a cut down tree. There's no tree near it, so maybe it was hauled off. You're actually not sure exactly what it is. But there's a hatch in the stump. At the top of the, on the top, it's just a little hatchway. And it's getting late in the day. What would you like to do?
Well, we are nearing the time where we will want to sleep. If we can wake Belvari up from that quiet nap. Yeah, I would take my outer skirt and rub at the dirt around the hinge area, and then try and pull it up.
With some effort, you are able to open it. It's just it's just not a large. It's just a hatchway, like you would find going into a basement or something like that, into this tree stump. It turns out you open it up, and there is a kind of not quite ladder, halfway between ladder and stairs. They're very narrow and kind of twisting a little bit downward. And pretty far underneath, as you crawl down, you don't hear any sounds or anything. Would you crawl down?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Pretty far underneath, 20, 30 feet down below, there's a damp earthen room.
She's not going down there alone. Diamondback is definitely accompanying her.
Okay. And what you see when you get down there, guys, is it's dark. Do you have a torch or anything?
My dude,
Yes.
You just tried to keep up with a gnome going down a hole, and you're
she gets there
human.
before I do. But once he gets there, you have his continual flame flickering from his shoulders that will light the room for you.
It's a damp earthen room with roots in the walls. It appears to be actually somewhat made, as in it's a slightly decorated room, almost like a remote cabin. There's actually a stone hearth with a fireplace in it, and the room can sleep about 10 if you were pretty snug.
There's less than 10 of us.
Is the hatch big enough for Toll to get down?
Yeah, everybody can get down, no problem. As a matter of fact, while you're down there, Neno, the one who rolled the 14, you actually, one of the things you find, it looks like nobody's been in there for a long, long time. You're not sure how long, but quite a long time. Spider webs and some other things down, minor spider webs. And Neno, as you're looking through on a table, you actually find a small vial with restorative ointment in it.
I have a question.
A healing salve. Yes, Matt?
DM. Do my people, the Snake Clan, or Yoshka's people, or anybody that we've met so far, have the technology to make potions?
This is... none of you have heard of this. Even Garriott knows of it from previously, but does not have a machine for it.
So this is bizarre. This is like as if flying cars were just appearing in the woods.
Not quite that bizarre. You've heard of things like this and have probably encountered a potion here and there.
Right.
But also remember, nobody travels. Maybe they're all around your hometowns and you don't go out.
Well, we traveled around a lot and we didn't find anything like this.
Yeah, but y'all are
Diamondback is very suspicious about the world he finds himself in.
Okay,
fair enough. And the others, and is talking about it a little bit with the others.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Do you know how to make potions or know anybody? Like, I haven't seen this many potions in my life ever. Like, who left these here? Where did they come from?
And just to give you all a sense of scale, that totally sounds good, Diamondback. Matt, to give you all a sense of scale, the story up to this point took a little over a week. Right? From first meeting Diamondback. 10 days, I think. You've now been traveling for almost a month since Miradao.
Oh.
We're glossing over some time. I just want to give everybody a sense of what's happening here. You're getting to know each other well. You as a team are having some time to interact and form bonds that are not the bonds of desperation.
So definitely one of the things that you notice is that Inkatink likes to hang out with Nino and likes to get her to show him how to do something one time, and then he'll just go do it like 100 times. And then he'll come back and he'll just like dump 100 of those things that she showed him how to do.
Flower necklaces.
Whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Pieces in a large patchwork quilt or something. It doesn't matter. Like he'll...
Necklaces made of skulls.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think at one point that's the other thing. Inkatink goes around and he starts stealing things from people, making multiple copies of them, and then just giving them all back. And so sometimes you'll just randomly find like 4 or 5 of the thing that you had. You're like, what the?
Little leather pouch or something.
Anything. Yeah.
So as you travel, you go a few more days and you make good time and you find some components, but you're also pushing. You have not heard the ringing of the bell in a while. But Yoshka, you find yourself having passed the ravine that you were looking for. That was a good sign for you. You find yourself standing on a dome-ish rock. You're actually off the side of it. You're not standing on it, with a grove of trees on top and a moss covering it. This looks like...
I think this is it. And I try to remember. Oh yes, we need to spill the liquid here. Do you have it, Grandma?
Oh, yes.
And there's a water skin full of that strange liquid that they took a scoop of. Remember that, Neno?
Oh, yes. Okay. I have it sequestered in my skirts. It's definitely here.
This is the place to do it. So if you want to give it to Yoshka, or you want to do it yourself, or...
Oh, no. I'll give it to Yoshka.
Tell it. Let's hear it.
Oh. Here you go, Yoshi.
Okay, here it goes.
And the water, Yoshka climbs up and goes to the top of this dome. It's not like a really pronounced dome. It's just a rounded rock, but it has the right kind of moss and it has the right kind of trees, and it feels like the magic of the forest. And he pours this on, and the whatever this liquid is, this magical sort of oil, pours down, and it runs down the rocks. And there's maybe a quart of it or so that runs down and seems to stop running down at some point, although you're not sure why. Yoshka, you hop off the rock and you wait a few moments, but you hear a sound from near the rocks. And as y'all are watching, you're looking directly at this dome of rock. And there's not a really good way to say this in your own minds as you try to figure out what you're seeing here exactly. But out of the rocks, out of the dome rock, it's strange because it's almost a flat dome, but it's as though somebody comes around the corner on it. You can't exactly tell what's happening. Emerging from nowhere in particular, you see a young man. He introduces himself as Oravan Roth Talad. Talad, will you introduce yourself?
All right. Talib rounds the corner, introduces himself, and says, "Well, hello. You must be looking for the old ones, I suspect. Well, we're always ready to welcome a few ragged adventurers."
And this is a young man. He's perhaps 18, and he introduced himself as the Oravan. Yoshka, you remember vaguely your father telling you about the Oravan, and he called them Old Blood. But this young man, Talad, seems to refer to himself as Oravan, and maybe that means the same thing in some language. But Talad tells you that his grandpa sent him up here. He heard your request to enter. You suppose that means the liquid you poured. He heard the request to enter and, has sent Talad up to bring you in.
So,
Thank you.
after you. He he gestures to the rock face, basically.
So you follow Talad, and are all of you going to follow him?
Well, he just said after you, so
Yes.
I guess I'll walk towards the rock face, kind of in faith that there's not something there.
Diamondback will hang back and see what happens to the others.
Yoshka takes a few steps forward, and Talad, you notice that he doesn't quite know what to do. You've said to him after you, but it's not obvious to him where to go or what to do. Perhaps you should show him the way?
Talad also looks a bit confused, but then he looks back and realizes the optical illusion thingamajig, and he says, "It's sort of an illusion kind of thing, trying to figure it out." And eventually he says, I'll just show you," and he walks around the corner and back a few times to be like, "It's over here."
And Talad walks across this. It's almost as though he's walking around a corner in midair. It's not that he's disappearing exactly. It does seem as though he's rounding some corner, but you can't quite tell what's happening. And the only thing you can see to do is to follow. So Yoshka, after he disappears around the corner at one point, quote unquote, around the corner, you just walk where he walked. And the rest of you see Yoshka go.
Stay here if you like. I will come back if you don't follow, I say over my shoulder.
Talad interjects saying, "You're all welcome to come if you like. We have food down here if that's your concern."
So now I've seen Talad go in and come back out. And Yosh could go half in and come back out again a couple times. So I'll follow.
Okay. Is there anybody who won't go in?
Inkatink's following. I think Inkatink's gonna wait for Nino and let Nino go first.
Okay.
Toll will go in if Yoshka is.
Okay. So here's what happens. Yoshka goes in. Talad has come out again and shown them how to do it. Yoshka goes in, and Talad notices, he kind of forgets apparently that not everybody has seen this the way he sees it, but he kind of shows them where to walk, and he stands almost like a sort of gatekeeper or guide and ushers you one at a time. First Yoshka goes in, Toll follows. After him, Neno and Diamondback both go towards this same thing at the same time. And Diamondback, tell me if this is wrong, but I'll just narrate. But Diamondback defers to Neno, who, walks in just ahead of him. Diamondback follows. After him, Inkatink, leaving Belvari if he would like to come, quote unquote, in. You really can't tell from the outside, but you can hear their voices as they seem to be near, but not visible. Belvari?
Yeah, I'll sneak in
Okay.
gingerly.
So the rest of them are waiting around this so-called corner of nothing, and maybe a good 30-45 seconds after Talad himself re-enters, Belvari kind of skulks in cautiously, wary, but also wary of remaining outside alone. You find yourself in a completely different kind of environment. It's a not narrow, but it's a carved passageway that looks like it's probably in the dome. Probably it's the same kind of rock. And you walk forward, and behind you, as you walk forward, what appears to be these hanging sort of sheets of this moss kind of fold back behind Talad as he, does a few things, kind of pulls on a few bits. And you're supposing that that's somehow having a magical effect of making this hidden. You wait for him in this moderately lit stone hallway, and he leads you down. It takes you several minutes to get through, and you go further and further down. You're clearly descending, although not dangerously. It's, there are turns and twists, and you're definitely going down. There's a few places where you could choose a right-hand or a left-hand turn, and Talad seems to know where he's going. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of traffic through here. It's just a place. But when you get a little further in, you find that this tunnel sort of that you're in narrows down, and it gets so narrow that Toll at one point has to kind of turn a little bit sideways. Some of you have no problem. Talad himself, just kind of shimmies just a little bit through a rough but not jagged hole that is big enough for all of you to get through with a little bit of work. Toll has the hardest time getting through. As you do, as you come through this, the last of you does. You actually find yourself in a surprisingly large cavern. It's not enormous, but it's like a town square almost. There are some houses carved into there are some dwellings carved into the rock in a few places. What look to be a few tunnels that go off here and there into different sections. And there's the moss covers the interior walls of the dome. A good, 60 feet up in the air and 120 feet wide. It's a dome sort of like the big rock that you're seeing. It's clearly not the same one, but you're on the inside of a nice sized cavern. You're greeted by an old man. You can't tell how old. He's elderly. He's probably a little older than Garriott even, but not infirm or frail. He comes to you and greets you and saying, "Hello, I'm Ora Van Bello Elefine. You can call me Elefine. I see Talad has found you. He's been... I see Talad has found you. I sent him to bring you in." And he looks at Yoshka and sees your clothes, and he says, Oh, your folk. I didn't expect your folk around here for a while.
Yes, I am Yoshka Menuhin. I fell off the wagon on the way and was separated.
Well, I believe your people will be here in, I don't know how long, maybe a month if they keep to their schedule, maybe 2. We usually see, as you remember, we see them every couple of years. It's been a little bit, but we look forward to seeing them. You've come at an opportune time. And he looks over and snaps his fingers. Talid, Della, come. Talid comes back over. He was talking to somebody. And a young girl about the same age as Talid, maybe 18-ish, comes over. They look very similar. They're probably siblings. And Elephine says, "You've come at a very good time. We're having a celebration this week. We're very glad to see you, and you're welcome. Not everybody knows how to get in here, but I'm glad to see you, Menuhin." To Yoshka, and he says, "These friends of yours, you trust them?"
Yes.
I
Some
say
of
to
them-
the old, I
I
say to
think-
the old man,
I think Inkatink runs up to Yoshka and just kind of folds his feathered claws together and just kind of like steps back into the shadows. Sorry, go ahead.
Diamondback might say something like, "Old man, you can trust me not to reveal the location of your fortress to the Iron Bell."
And Elephine sort of chuckles and chortles. He kind of, oh, you've got heart, young man. And he looks down and he sees your necklace, and he sees your, let's call it, the motif of your bearing and your style. And he says, I think you and I will get along fine. Well, and he turns to the rest of you and he says, let's find you a place to stay. Our celebration is tomorrow. You're welcome to join. We have a ceremony. And he motions to Della and Talid and says, oh, once every few years, we have our coming of age ceremony. You happen to have come for the one for Talid and Della and a few others of our tribe. We Oravan. I'm sure Yoshka. No, I'm sorry. I'm sure your Menuhin here has told you about us. It's a rare thing. We don't have many visitors, but you're welcome. You'll actually be very useful for our ceremony. A couple of you can come and witness. But Talid and Della will be coming into their adulthood. They'll be receiving their family way. All right, Talid, show them a place where they can stay. Maybe give them one of the guest quarters over there. And he motions his head towards something you can't tell. Maybe one of the tunnels or a carved dwelling. You can't tell what he's referring to, but Talid seems to know. Talid, will you lead them away?
Yeah. Talid gingerly says, of course, and starts not skipping, but more manly, like someone who's who's joyous because of what's going to happen, but also trying to be all calm and adult-like. And he's just going to lead you over to these doors, like etched into the wall with moss covering the hanging frames of them, and says, here are the guest quarters, as one might call them. Feel free to stay.
And you leave Elephine towards the entrance. He seems to be talking to some people. They're clearly readying for whatever's happening tomorrow. It looks like it could be a small festival, like he said, a coming-of-age ceremony. The place that Talid takes you, and he and Della then leave after they show you your spot, it's sufficient. It's not like luxurious, but it's a room of decent size, and carved into the sides are bunks, 3 bunks tall, and enough for maybe 10 people-ish, 10, 12 people to be able to bed in those bunks. You'll need your own bedding, which you probably have, but it's a stone slab that's comfortably carved. And there's a little bit of, there's a chair and some tables and a little place for fire, and it's got a little bit of privacy. There's a door that opens with, a little bit of light can get through it one way or the other. But it's a comfortable room. You're able to be here for the evening, all of you together in this room. You guess that it's, based on the light outside, a couple of hours till night. However, night doesn't exactly seem to mean the same thing here. You're far enough underground, and you're guessing through the way you came, animals are not likely to come through, even if they could find an entrance. Being able to find their way through the kind of labyrinthine tunnels that you came through for about 20 minutes. So, does anybody want to do anything before you aside from set up your belongings into the little cubbies?
Yes, the very first minute that they have any solitude away from their hosts, Nina crouches down on the ground and starts weirdly petting it, patting it. It's a prayer thing she's doing, and she is just delighted to be so far underground.
Great. And the floor here is stone, not like cobblestone. It's just carved
rock.
Yeah, maybe carved by. No, your guess would actually be these caverns were carved by water. Flowing through. Anybody else have anything they want to say about this right now? Otherwise, we'll wrap up.
I would be chatting it up with Talad, but we can do that next time.
Okay. Well, that is where we will end this episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks, you guys, for playing. You can get more details about the world and the story we're telling at the starfallcollective.com.